My name is Bill Sweeney. I'm the Consul General here at the U.S. Embassy in Santo Domingo. Appreciate everybody dialing in today to have a town hall specifically tailored at the services we provide to American citizens here in the Dominican Republic, whether residing here permanently or folks who are visiting. Next slide, please. Just as a quick review, the American Citizen Services Unit here in the Consular section provides various kinds of services. The most common is probably passport and citizenship services. Obviously, the renewal or obtaining first-time passports or getting documented for new U.S. citizens with a consular report of birth abroad. But we also have services that relate to Social Security, the Internal Revenue Service, other federal programs, and of course, emergencies of various kinds, whether related to encounters with the criminal justice system or medical emergencies, other types of situations which you might find yourself in here in the Dominican Republic. Next slide, please. Just as a reminder, as you are probably well aware, effective January 26th, the U.S. Imposed a global requirement on travelers entering the United States to provide a negative COVID-19 viral test, so PCR or antigen test, taken within 72 hours of travel. Alternatively, you can provide documentation from your provider, your healthcare provider, that you have recently recovered from a COVID-19 infection. Ask the people, keep that in mind for people who are visiting and be mindful of that requirement. Entering the Dominican Republic, there is not a COVID-19 requirement, but there is a random testing that is being done. We also remind people that there is currently a level 3 travel advisory encouraging people to reconsider travel due to health and safety, particularly with regard to the ongoing threat of COVID. We strongly recommend that people, travelers, really consider their decision to travel at this time abroad, given the possibility of remaining stranded if you do get positive, and possibly having medical care that is not what you are accustomed to, or could be extremely expensive if you end up in a medevac situation. So to consider your travel insurance as well. Next slide, please. One of the few positive things that we've seen out of the COVID experience here in the consular section is a beginning passport renewal by mail, which is something we've been hoping to do for some time. And which is really a very easy process for both the passport renewer, yourselves, and for us handling that business on the back end. Essentially, if you were an adult when you got your last passport and it's not more than 5 years expired, you are eligible to renew your passport by mail. Due to the COVID restrictions, and we'll talk more about this throughout this town hall, we're really doing our very best to minimize foot traffic here to keep all of our clients safe and our staff safe. So we do require that if you are eligible to renew by mail, that you use that option. So please keep that in mind. Next slide, please. This goes into a little more detail of the you need to fill out your form to passport photos, $110 check from one of the big banks, and use the Domex system to send it to us. We'll turn it around and you'll get your passport back through the same mechanism. Next slide, please. The consular report of birth abroad, which is essentially a birth certificate issued by the U.S. to document the citizenship of a individual who is born and acquired through action of U.S. law, their U.S. citizenship abroad. is a service that we're happy to be back to providing it at full speed. We do ask that as you prepare to come to your consular report of birth abroad appointment, that you pay meticulous attention to our checklist. This is a complicated process in terms of the numbers of pieces of paper that you need to bring. This has to do with how U.S. law treats different situations and different requirements for individuals who have one parent versus two parents who are U.S. citizens, certain requirements of how long the parent has lived in the United States, and so forth. So there's a reason for every document that we're asking for. Please, please, please help yourself, help us by just really paying attention to that checklist, please. Next slide. So this is the checklist itself. Again, please go through it. I know there's a temptation to rush through these or come in and want to ask questions or call. The information is all right here. Please, please, please just work your way through the checklist, and the process will be much, much smoother and faster for everyone concerned. Next slide, please. We are also offering notarial services. These are by appointment only, so you can book those just like the crib appointments or the passports for minor appointments on our website. These include the DS 3053, which is the permission for a minor in the United States to obtain a passport. There's no fee for that service, but you do need an appointment. Next slide, please. Again, coming back to the issue of crowd management, we've placed very strict limits on the number of people that we keep within our waiting room. So we do need people to respect the time and the process, and we do ask that you be on time. We recommend people come about 15 minutes early. If you are late, we will ask you to make a new appointment and adjust the service, because we cannot have the crowds that we've managed in the past. And that are simply unsafe for our clients and our staff in the current environment. Next. So the federal benefits unit that I mentioned at the top covers a number of things, including the Social Security Administration. Like other offices, they have limited their ability, and we're trying again to avoid the crowds. We strongly, strongly encourage you to reach them by email. That's noted below, fbu.santo.domingo@ssa.gov, and they will respond very promptly to you and address your issue. Next question, please, or slide, please. IRS stimulus checks. This is a big one. We have had a tremendous amount of interest after the most recent round to a point where we are not able to maintain the system that we initially did. We have thousands upon thousands of checks, and we had an unsustainable flow of people into the into our, not only to the ACS section, but to the immigrant and non-immigrant visa sections that you have to transit to get up to our area. So we have switched to enable everybody to obtain their stimulus check directly using Domex. I simply go to Domex, send the information noted to the U.S. Embassy. That's an ID, the letter that you received, either from us here at the Embassy in Santo Domingo, notifying you that we have your check, or the letter that you received from the IRS, and a statement noting that you desire to have this check sent to that address, the same address that is shown on the IRS letter or the letter that we have sent to you. So that's how we are managing the stimulus checks at this point. Next slide, please. Last but not least, good chance that you heard about us because of your enrollment in the STEP program. The Smart Travel Enrollment Program, if you haven't done so or have visitors, we really encourage people to do this. It really helps us to better serve you and provide information. You never know when something imminent may come up, whether it's a natural disaster, some kind of civil disturbance or other event, as well as more routine things, information about voting, about preparedness tips. All those things are information that we push out through this system, and it helps us to understand how many U.S. citizens we have in the country and where they are, so that we are able to help and be prepared for any kind of situation. Next slide. Always, we work really hard on our website, so we strongly encourage you to consult that. We also try and keep our social media feeds updated. We have a lot of really good information on COVID on our website, if that's a topic of relevance for you or people who may be visiting you. So please do consult with that. And if you have feedback, we always appreciate that as well. Next slide. Okay, so that is the presentation to begin, but it's our pleasure to take questions and understand what's on all of your minds here as our fellow citizens in the United States.
Thank you so much, Bill. Hello, everybody. My name is Eileen Waddell. I am the American Citizen Services Chief here at the U.S. Embassy in Santo Domingo. We are going to try to answer as many questions live as we can. And what I just want to encourage everyone, please go ahead and use that Q&A function that you see there. You can ask your question in English or in Spanish, and we will go ahead and start answering them. One thing I do want to flag, though, is that we today are only going to be answering questions related to American Citizen Services. So we are not going to be answering visa questions today. We have a lot of information on visas on our social media accounts on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, as well as on our webpage. And so I would encourage you, if you have a specific visa question, please go ahead and look at our information that we have online. But Bill is here to answer questions for American citizens who have questions about travel or about any of the services that we have here at the embassy. So we are going to go ahead and get started then. I see there are a lot of questions. Bill, Stephanie G has a question about, can you show evidence of a COVID vaccination to enter the United States?
So excellent question, and one that we're getting quite commonly. At this point, the CDC guidelines that created this requirement do not accept a vaccination as equivalent to a COVID-19 PCR or antigen test. So even if you're vaccinated, you can still carry and get the virus. And until and unless there is any change in that guidance from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, you will still need to get the viral test before you can enter back in the United States.
Okay, thank you. And related is a question from Rebecca Jacobs, who is asking, will the embassy be helping with getting COVID vaccines for Americans in the Dominican Republic?
Sure. Unfortunately, just like with flu shots or other medical assistance, the embassy is not able to provide that kind of assistance to citizens. I would note that the Dominican Republic has made clear and advised embassies and the public that individuals who are permanent residents here have that documentation are eligible to participate in the Dominican vaccination program. The other alternative would be to consult with your state or city locality of residence if you elect for your on a personal basis to return to the United States and get your vaccination there.
Great, thank you. Luis Santana is also asking, when will the COVID test not be required anymore?
So that's a decision that the Centers for Disease Control will make when the global disease situation and the level of vaccination in the United States are at such a point where they feel that that measure is no longer needed. So we don't have a forecast as to when that might happen. Obviously, vaccinations are going on around the world and in the United States, but the action was taken and will continue to be in force as a means to prevent the further spread, particularly of variants, and as the COVID disease evolves, to prevent those from being introduced into the United States and having amplified the circulation within the U.S., which is our intent to protect our home country from outside infectious sources.
Thank you. We are getting a lot of questions actually on the COVID, on the stimulus checks, sorry. Would it be possible, Paula, could you pull back up the slides, and on the one slide on the stimulus checks, I've seen a number of people ask if the Consul General could just go back over the steps of what they need to do for making sure that they can get their stimulus check.
Sure. Very happy to do it. So you'll need to go to the courier service Domex, which has offices throughout the country, and provide to them a photocopy of a current valid ID to show who you are, that you are the owner of that check. Then you will need to include a copy of the letter that we sent to you, indicating that we have your check. Alternatively, if you do not have that letter, but you understand that we do have such a check, you can use the letter that was sent to you directly through IRS, and then a written statement that says that you would like the U.S. Embassy to send your check through Domex together with the associated fees. So hopefully that's helpful. Again, the idea of the letter is to associate you and your check to the address that Domex is going to deliver that check to. So that's why we ask those particular items.
And one of the questions related to this is, can I go to any Domex?
Yes, indeed.
And if a Philip Brown has stated that he hasn't been able to cash his stimulus check, how can he do that? How does a person cash their stimulus check?
So just like any check that you have, it is valid. I believe they're good for a year. It will indicate on there, and you would work through your bank or other financial institution to do that. Again, obviously there is some hassle and cost associated with this. I would take this moment to encourage people, if at all possible, to use direct deposit with taxes or registering that with the IRS, because we do understand that this is an extra process that adds time and effort to your day.
Definitely. I would reiterate that, because I know some people have already gotten their last stimulus check for people who had registered by direct deposit, but then the embassy, we have not received the checks. And it'll be some time before we receive the next group of checks. So it is really helpful to be able to go ahead and do the direct deposit. Radel Antigua has a question about whether, can I file my taxes from the Dominican Republic?
So certainly, I file my taxes every year from the Dominican Republic, and using the online tax filing options, either directly with the IRS or through various services, you can indeed do that remotely.
And Justin G is asking a question of what should we expect if we test positive for COVID?
Good question. So if you test positive, the Dominican Republic, the Ministry of Health will indicate a need to quarantine. In most cases, they allow that to be a self-quarantine, whether that is if you're perhaps staying with relatives, that is acceptable. Hotels have particular arrangements and have specific rooms that are set aside for situations like that, where they will keep travelers. But there is also the possibility of having a enforced quarantine if those options are not available. So do think ahead to the possibility that you might need to stay longer, or that a travel might need to be delayed just in case the result comes out in an unexpected way.
Yeah. Bill, we have another question about from David, who said that he has been having trouble making an appointment to renew his passport. I am guessing, yes, that he's difficult because it's for children only right now.
Yep. So as we noted, we were trying to control the number of people in the waiting room, and we have a limited number of staff that we are able to bring in at one time, which creates this bottleneck with the number of appointments that we're able to get through. By moving as many appointments to the Renewal online service as possible, we've alleviated that to a certain degree, but we are aware that it is well over a month wait for people to get appointments for minor children who are required to, by law, to have an in-person interview. So apologize for the delay. Please just plan ahead and encourage others to do the same.
And similarly, we get the same question about CRIBAs, for same thing for making an appointment. Exactly.
The only addition I would add is please, for CRIBAs, follow the checklist meticulously, because if we need to have a second appointment, that's another block of time that maybe could have gone to somebody else to complete their documentation, rather than having two of those precious slots go for one service. Sometimes it's unavoidable, and but we do ask you to do the best you can. Thanks.
Yep. Thank you. Yeah, and when we've been doing, just for everyone, please check back regularly for for appointments, because we are opening them as much as we can, that we can do it safely and bring everybody in. And so just honestly, keep looking back and seeing if we've got any more available. But I would encourage you, please don't make multiple appointments. We do see people make 5, 6, 7 appointments for one person. And that does, we have to go in and try to manually remove those. So please try to just choose an appointment that you can show up for and come prepared for that day. If someone has an emergency, Bill, what should they do?
So the first thing you should do is call 911 if it is a life and death emergency. The 911 system is operational, and I believe it's 98% of the territory. And we've had very good experience with the response that is given. Also, if you are in a touristic area and can contact Sestour, they have been very responsive and extremely professional. That is essentially a police force dedicated entirely to touristic security and welfare, and they are very accommodating and helpful, and we work very closely with them. If those situations don't apply, or you need additional assistance, please do, depending on the urgency of the situation, you can either find the information on our website. For example, if you lost a passport and need to replace that, you'd be able to find that you are supposed to write to SDO Americans at state.gov so that we can renew your passport on an emergency basis. There's also our phone number that you can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we will have a duty officer who can respond to your situation and orient you to the appropriate resources, whether they are Dominican law enforcement or other, or to information and resources that we have here within the ACS section.
Thank you. Can we also, at the for the presentation, we've gotten a couple questions also about the federal benefits unit. If we can go back to that slide, if someone's having trouble reaching them and how do they reach them? And for everyone for all of the participants, when you came in, you gave us your email address. We also can email you this presentation at the end so that you can go through and have access to all the information and look at it again if you've got any questions. All of this information is also on our website. So I would encourage you also to check there, but we will just pull up the FBU slide really quickly.
Perfect. So as mentioned, the federal benefits unit is most readily reached by email at fbu.santo.domingo@ssa.gov. And they can orient you to those situations.
Thank you. Roseanne Dausilio has a question about what services, if any, do you provide when a U.S. citizen dies in the Dominican Republic?
So the first thing that we do is if the family has not already been contacted, we reach out to the next of kin and share the news of the passing. We then connect them with local resources, in particular the funeral homes that can assist them, and with the local authorities, the mortuary, police that may be involved in any given situation. As the disposition of remains is worked out, and they may making decisions about whether to repatriate a body to the United States or to have a local burial, we are involved with the consular report of death abroad, which allows people to, the next of kin, to settle the estate of a deceased U.S. citizen abroad, or to work with the funeral home if they make a decision to repatriate remains to the United States. And they need us to ratify, notarize the documentation that enables that.
Thank you. And if anybody has questions, and I saw that some people put down their particular case information, please go ahead and email us at sdoamericans@state.gov, and we can follow up with you about your specific case if you need assistance in that. We had a question about the Dominican Republic's requirements, and will U.S. citizens with CDC vaccine cards be accepted?
So the Dominican Republic does not currently require any testing upon entry. As noted, they do have random tests that are sometimes performed upon passengers at entry. I am not aware of any plans to exempt somebody who had a vaccine card, but the level of testing has been fairly low based on anecdotal evidence. So if you were vaccinated and you were selected as a random testee, they may well give you a pass. But unfortunately, I can't confirm that, lacking specific information from the Ministry of Health on that.
Thank you. Jose Antonio Quinones has a question about, can I apply for a social security number at the embassy?
So that would be another case where you'd want to reach out to fbu.santo.domingo, excuse me, at state.gov, and they would orient you. We are not doing in-person interviews or signatures, to my knowledge, for any cases at this point. Obviously, as the pandemic evolves, some of these requirements hopefully will slowly lessen, and we might be able to do those for emergencies, but that's not a routine procedure, and they should be able to handle it through other means.
We have a number, just looking through here, we have a number of questions actually about getting the COVID test. And they're asking about like, where can I find what labs will do the test, what types of tests, and how much are the tests?
Excellent question. So my first encouragement would be to have you go to our website, where on the we have a COVID-19 information page, and we have a fairly extensive list of laboratories and facilities that we are aware of that offer the test. The test that meets the requirements of the CDC is either a PCR test or an antigen test. An antibody test, which typically is done by drawing blood, is not acceptable. So please be sure to get the antibody or the PCR test. Those vary in prices, and I believe there may be some general price ranges on the website. I don't trust my memory to speculate in this forum, but that is information available there, and generally available to the public. If you are working with a travel agent or hotel, often they will have either their own testing capacity or good information about the local labs where those tests can be done.
And a question about how long does it take to renew a passport?
So my recollection, and Eileen, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's been running about a month between when we're able to, we receive it, whether by mail or in the case of a minor, complete the interview and take care of our paperwork, and then it is actually printed and has to be sent from the States. I believe that normally takes a couple weeks and then another few days to be delivered by Domex.
Exactly. Yep. It's taking us about 4 weeks right now to get the full validity passport. And who qualifies for an emergency passport?
So emergencies are people who have urgent need to travel, whether that is to return to a life that they were living in the United States, like they are here as tourists, for example, or have a medical emergency, or some other unexpected urgent need, life and death travel types of situations that requires them to get to the United States.
Thank you. I think we just have enough time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions. David asked a question about, I lost my passport. How can I get a new one?
Okay, so I would, it's going to depend on whether you're a resident here. I'm going to assume that you are, in which case you should make an appointment, because you cannot renew by mail without the actual passport, and then collect the documentation that is noted on there that shows your citizenship. Typically that's old passports, as well as a driver's license and other forms of ID that we can use to establish your prior passport history.
Great. Exactly. And yeah, same thing. Yeah, if your passport's lost, stolen, it's all the same. You'll have to appear in person and make the appointment, as the Consul General said, and give us an email. Just write us at SDO Americans, explain your situation, so that we can make the appointment for you. And let's see here. A question just about is it possible to get my COVID test in time for me to travel to the United States?
So we've found in working with the different U.S. citizens who have been traveling and visiting and departing the Dominican Republic, that people are able to get these tests in various ways, and that yes, they are available and can be not necessarily always easily done, but are obtainable within the 72-hour window that the CDC requires. We have not run across a case where somebody was not yet able, after being directed into one or more local resources, to resolve the issue.
Right, and I think we're going to end on this question that where can I go for more information, and what is your website?
Okay, do.usembassy.gov. That's definitely the best starting point. State.gov is also an excellent resource and has information about the Dominican Republic and any other country that you might be visiting. So yeah, travel.state.gov, sorry. So as well as the social media, where we regularly post updates and reminders about things like the COVID test. Yeah, I would just like to thank everybody for participating this afternoon. Great questions. We look forward to continuing to normalize operations and keeping the services, like the ability to renew passports, but also stepping back up the level of service and the speed with which we're able to do that. We continue to ask your patience and indulgence and assistance in being prepared as you come, so that we can do our best to get through this together and get back to a normal operating status. And please stay safe out there. We are happy to be at your service, but prefer the calls that never happen. Wishing you all the best.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for joining us today. It seems like, there was a lot of questions and a lot of interest in this. And so it sounds like we should do this again sometime soon. And so thank you so much, Bill, for joining us and answering all of these questions.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Have a great afternoon.
Until next time, everyone, please reach out and have a great rest of the day.
Take care.